Welcome to the 20 Podcast, bringing you interviews with the best DJs, producers, and music industry professionals from around the globe. I'm your host, DJ Spider. That's right, give it up. Oh, everybody's going crazy for DJ Spider. He's in the house. And I'm truly in the house. Look at me. I'm in the Beatsource house. We're back in the office. It feels so good to be outside of my home studio. We're up in the place to be. We're at Beatsource, and you want to know why? Because this podcast every week is brought to you by Beatsource, and we love Beatsource, okay? Beatsource is the new digital music service for open format DJs. We've got custom playlists constantly being worked on. We've got the 20 playlist, which is the namesake from our podcast. We've got all different genres. We now have edits legally on there with intros, outros, acapella outs, transitions, all kinds of cool stuff. And we've got Beatsource Link, which allows you to DJ from the cloud. So I have actually been using it at some of my club gigs now that I'm back in the world, and it's pretty incredible. I dipped into DJ Vice's VIP crates the other night and played a couple of his tracks that he put in there, and it's pretty incredible. So if you want to jump on, you want 60 days free to experiment and try it out, use the code the20 THE20 and you will get 60 days free. Try it out. Hit me up if you got any questions, and I will put you in touch with the right people, or just hit me up to say hello. Hit me up on Instagram, DJ Spider at DJSPIDER. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you to all the beat sorcerers, all the supporters, everybody out there. We really appreciate it. And if you want to help out a little bit more, rate and review the podcast on the Apple Podcast app, because it pushes it up, lets us do this more, lets us get a bigger audience, and that's what we want, and we appreciate it. So I personally, like I said, have been out on the road. I got to be in Boston, Vegas. We are heading into October. This may be coming out in October, and I will be all over the place. I'm going to Riverside, California. I'm going to Mexico. I'm going to Chicago. I'm going to San Francisco. I'm going to Vegas again. A bunch of places. So hit up my website or my Instagram if you want to see where I'm going. My website's DEEJAYSPIDER.com, DJspider.com, and I just told you my Instagram. And now on to the important part, our guest of the day, our unbelievable, amazing guest that I was able to interview in person and actually see and feel their aura and their energy coming towards me. And it was a wonderful feeling, because this person is a great person and super fun to be around. We'll see if you can guess from the clues that I'm going to give you, but she is very active. That's right, I said she. She is very active in the private event and corporate world, working with clients like Disney Plus, Porsche, Coca-Cola, Adidas, and more. The list goes on. She has a lot of valuable lessons to bring to the table surrounding DJ bookings, branding, and a lot of other things. And we discuss it heavily on this episode. I think it's going to help out a lot of you guys. It was really insightful to me as well. She is also part of the Beatsource and DJcity family, throwing the events, including the Ladies Linkup, which is hugely successful and really cool event that she's been doing for a while. She also handles the external partnerships and operations. She is a wonderful person, as I stated, to be around, and truly stands by what she believes in. And I think that's really commendable, and you'll learn more about it on this episode. I love talking to her. I had so much fun. I'm really excited for you guys to hear this interview and to check out this episode. So please welcome to the show, DJ Dazzler. We are in the house. It is the 20 Podcast. We're in person. It feels so good. And we are here with DJ Dazzler.
Finally.
Give it up. Yes. Thank you. Give it up, guys. Dazzler, how are you?
I am caffeinated, activated, and this is a long time coming.
Yes,
I feel like we've been wanting to do this for a while.
We've been wanting to do it. We've been wanting to do it in person.
Yes.
Which, no offense to anyone I've interviewed virtually, it's great, but there is that little bit of lag time, a little bit of in-person something, special something. So
we
to be
connect
able to,
well too, I think, very well in person.
Yes.
So I wanted to offer that up for sure.
Exactly. I want people to be able to see in full top quality your amazing shirt and all your stuff. But yeah, thank you for being here. And
Absolutely.
I think, there's so much interesting stuff that we have to talk about.
Sure.
From your career, your work with DJcity and Beatsource, your own stuff with branding, what you've done during the pandemic, and all that stuff. And just recently, I know you've been on tour with Disney Plus doing these events, which are so cool. So yeah, I wanna hear all about that. I guess why don't you tell us most recently what you've been doing with the Disney Plus and any other events?
Absolutely. So lately, and what I'm hoping is a post-pandemic era. Let's hope and pray.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, came out of it in a different mindset, which we can definitely go over today. But recently, went on tour with Disney Plus.
So cool.
Amazing opportunity. And since then, which was pretty recent, Major League Soccer, Coca-Cola, Adidas.
Cool. Wow.
Porsche? Porsche or Porsche? What are we? What's the technical term?
I don't know. I say Porsche, but I've heard both.
The car.
So.
Them. So exciting things in the works and hoping to ride that momentum given we're able to do so.
Yeah, totally. It feels like we are. I don't know. As we were coming into the fall, like we're just heading into fall, a lot of people were saying, okay, get ready for the pandemic winter and the next wave and this and that. But I don't see that happening completely. I feel like we're in a different place. We have the vaccine, which didn't exist before. People are used to wearing masks, which didn't exist before.
If you think of a year ago, we did not have
none
the
vaccine. Of that. And we didn't have any protocol for how we were supposed to live. Even in the beginning of the summer, we didn't know how to live and to go into these events and all this stuff. So I feel like now we're understanding how to do it and throw events. It's still messing up our industry in certain ways, but I don't see it as negative, coming into it. I hope and pray that
and if in fact I think other
happening.
Things have opened different avenues, and what I especially liked, do I wish a pandemic ever? No, of course not. But what I do like, what it did for a vast majority of people in our community is people niched down on what they wanted to do. Yeah. And you saw that virtually. You saw that on Twitch. You see that, and people being selective of the opportunities they take on, or like, I don't think I want to go back to my ex-residency or whatever, or this. And people are finding what their core values are. I thought that was a big win for our industry.
I think that's huge. And actually, that's something that I've heard you speak about and that we've talked about before. And I think something that's important to you. I was going to touch on it later, but I think it's good to bring up now as a good segue into it, because you're someone that is into activism. You really stand for things. You really speak your mind about what you think is important. And I've heard you talk about working with clients and doing gigs that align with your values and almost manifesting those things or putting it out there what your values are, so you don't work with the wrong people. And they're happy by hiring you, and you're happy that they hired you and stuff like that. So, I think that's something people were able to take a step back and realize, maybe I don't need to say yes to everything. Maybe I can pick and choose what I want to put my time into, or make things that will last longer for the future. I'm going to leave a legacy, or the direction I want to go. So, do you want to speak a little more on that aspect of things?
For sure.
Believing in what you work for?
I think there's a couple of things that have happened during the pandemic, especially last year. Yeah. And maybe it's going to go along that path of what you asked. But how I got to that point was really niching down and getting into contracts, gigs, and opportunities that were fulfilling for me. So I think what people forget is maybe it's just a financial motivation, which I get it. We all have bills to pay. Yeah, but there's also, an area that's also just as important, is that opportunity. Can I leverage that, or is that client worth working for? There's a variety of things. And so how I got to that point, I would credit the pandemic for sure, and last year's very turbulent social justice movements that have occurred. So if you recall, was it March of last year where I think it was like everything closed for 2 weeks, right? Do you remember that? And to be honest with you, it was a 2 week stores, events, like hunker down at your house. Right. I found that a blessing. I think many people said, and for me, it was I kind of felt burnt out. Not so much the physical burnout of doing events and working and all of that, but I was just in constant go mode.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna take these 2 weeks off, like we all did.
Of course.
And then 2 weeks, turned into a month. Like, okay, we need to like continue this. It's gonna be a month. And we're like, okay, I'll get by. And then it was like, well, okay, the springtime, let's get through the springtime. And then by the summer, things are gonna reopen. We're gonna get going. Summer literally came and went, right? Like, things weren't opening.
Yeah.
And so at some point, what was that, 3-4 months have gone by, I'm like, I think I need to reevaluate how I do things. If I want to scale, if I want to take on more grand things, if I want to be better and, grow.
Totally.
And so during this time, social justice stuff, pandemic, all of that, there's a couple things that I did. One of them was I worked softly with a inclusion specialist who helped me get to sense of my brand messaging and attracting the clients that I want. And it comes from within, really. Like, what are things that are important to you? There's no wrong or right answer, but trying to manifest and attract that type of client. So how timely with the social justice stuff. So I'm actually going through a rebrand, something that I also invested in. It's not quite finished yet, but I'm working with a branding specialist to help me attract people that are just like me, like in terms of the human beings they are.
Yeah.
So that way, there's 2 reactions that I welcome when, let's say, if you don't know me personally and you're coming to my site or you're going to my IG, there's 2 or 3 things that are important to me. That my online presence matches my real life energy.
Yeah.
So it should be very synonymous with each other. Like, have you ever gone on someone's IG page you don't know and you're inspired or like, wow, they do things cool. And when you meet them, you're almost like, you're not that person I thought you were. It could be a personality thing. It could be style, all sorts of things. I really wanted to prioritize being congruent on all levels because that's the stuff I think people who are looking to hire you look at.
Totally.
Now, another thing that I did was create messaging this is the part that I want, either or reaction I welcome, where if you don't know me and you're seeing me and the things that I stand for, you'll be like, DJ Dazzler, that's exactly who we want. She's a fit for this. Or I also welcome, what is this garbage? She stands for this. We don't want her at all, which is great because you don't contact me and I don't need to do this back and forth with you. And it's all good.
Right.
It's all good. Like, you as a client, if you know that I'm not a fit for you.
Yeah.
We don't waste each other's resources and time.
No, it's so true. A lot of wasted time is just on back and forth with either rate negotiations where people have no idea how expensive or not expensive, you know what it is, or just in different things that may make them not get along, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Or see eye to eye.
And I think some people think it's just a pricing thing.
Yeah.
It's various things. And I'm very much convinced, especially with my trajectory with the corporate stuff, people are hiring not the service of DJing, they're hiring the human being, right? Like, are they a brand? We hear this a lot. You and I do similar types of events, and it's like they hire you as the person.
Yes.
And if you're a brand match for that, and a lot of that stuff resonates in how you dress, or are your values the same as such, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And so I've had to turn down things that I think weren't a fit for me, you know, or, you know what I mean? It doesn't go well with the content I'm trying to serve. Like, probably the stuff that I'm after, I'm not suited for things that I did before. And that's okay. That's part of the growth.
Yeah. No, it's good. Yeah, it's good to have that, I guess, self-realization of what you want, too. You know what I mean? Because if you don't know what you want, you're going to get pushed around by what you think is right or what other people are doing, you know?
For sure.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that's super smart and, like, a good way to put it. And then as far as, like, the brand, you know, like you said, you're working with a branding specialist.
I am.
So who is that? Or like, you know, what's the process behind that? Yeah. Like, how would you find someone like that or approach them or talk to them?
I will start with this. I think our industry uses the word brand very loosely and sometimes often incorrectly.
Yeah.
To me, branding is, okay, logo, your color scape, your hex codes of what are, you know, in your website.
Okay.
Brand, to me, is what the act of people doing business with you and their feelings of that after the fact. That's your brand. That's how people remember you by, I think. And so with obviously strong branding, and a great brand, execution, I think that makes a winning product or service.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people think it's just the thing, the logo, the color, or whatever it is. And there's so many things that go into that. And I think people doing business with you afterwards and their feelings, hopefully positive.
Yep.
That's what I think it makes you hireable. And that's your brand.
Basically all memories are tied to how you felt, I think, so a lot of the time people are scrutinizing, this song, that song. At the end of the day, they don't necessarily remember the exact songs you played or the exact order. Maybe if the DJ does, that's there, but the other people don't. They just remember how you made them feel or the crowd feel or the feeling of the place and all of that. So I agree that concentrating on that side of things will help for you to get rebooked or booked or have a good relationship with people rather than being so scientific about every little thing. Yeah.
I think a lot of DJs from, we were working for DJcity, working for Beatsource, and being a DJ myself, I feel like I'm in this ecosystem pretty deeply. And what I've noticed in our community is sometimes so much of the focus is the actual act of DJing itself, when it's so much more than that. Keep in thought of your booker or the person hiring you. Like, what is your experience away from the turntables? What is their experience with you leading up to the event, or even after the fact? I mean, a lot of the time that's why I get hired. And I think what separates me and finding what sets me different is I think I'm very high touch and white glove in that scape, to the point where I'm trusted very early on in the process. Before, it could be months, weeks before I even actually play. And I would probably confidently say, like, let's say I just did not nail it in that sense. Yeah. But knowing that they felt taken care of before, during, and after the fact, I think gives people ease, because we're problem solvers in our space. We're solving a problem when being hired. We need to service entertainment. We're sourced for music. Yeah. And really, that's, if you take that concept and expand it more than your physical state behind the turntables, there's so much value add
that you
can provide.
Yeah, no, it's true. And then sometimes they expect too much of you and you have to explain to them.
Yeah, of course. Manage expectations. I always say that we're in the business of acting fast and managing people's expectations.
Right, because sometimes they'll be crazy. That's why it's nice to deal with professional event planners, because they know what they're talking about a lot of the time. But when you're dealing directly with clients sometimes, I mean, I'm happy to do it, but it's harder because they're just like, well, I don't usually do this. I don't know. Can you, they just make insane asks, or the money is all over the place.
But I think
they don't
we're in
understand.
a unique space to educate. Like, I think people forget that, like, they don't know what they don't know. Yeah. So we're the experts in our field. And I'm not talking about if you've been DJing for 5 months, 1 month, 10 years, 20 years. You are the vetted person in their eyes. And sometimes they don't know. So although the ask might be too far or way out of scope, it's up, I think, up to us as a community and individually to educate them in that process of what's doable, what's market value, what is beyond your scope of work. Right. Because I get, if they're in the mindset, if I don't ask, I don't receive.
Right, and I totally get it. And then a lot of times they just, get somebody, like I got offered something recently, and then I'm like, nobody would do that for that price, and they're like, we got somebody for even a little bit cheaper. I'm like, okay, well, have fun with them. Like, I don't know what's going to happen there.
I used to get super upset and take it super personally when I wouldn't get a gig. I mean, it hurts a little, right? And we're creatives and we take pride in our work. But now my mindset is, if already they're a pain and if they're already price haggling, that already tells me they value cost first versus other things. And therefore, if you know what your core values are, it's easier to let them go without feeling. Yeah. So it's almost, they're doing you a favor. Okay, great. Totally, you did not get that gig and they were going to be a pain anyway. It was less on you.
Exactly.
And I really encourage DJs to adopt that mind frame, because I think sometimes we get hung up on the, what if I did this? If I just lowered my rate, if I just offered more for less, I don't think that's a winning attitude about it either.
No, I don't think so either. And I think that, that's the other thing. The pandemic, that forced break allowed me to feel like I don't have to be working every weekend all the time. Obviously, I want to work a lot and make money.
And also you love it and you're great at it.
Yeah, and I love it and it's my life. But I used to feel that competitive thing with myself of like, this is what I was doing last year. This is what I need to be doing now, which I have that still. I mean, I want to do well, but I realize there's other things to work on with that downtime. If I have a whole weekend off, I get to either spend some amazing time with my family that I never got to do before, or my friends, or work on a new project. Also, it's good to work on projects that, might be around if there is another pandemic or there's another time where we can't DJ for a while. I don't want to be stuck with like, okay, what should I do? I want to have other things going on. So there's other things I'm working on. So now it's fun to have time off to be able to work on it in a way.
Oh, that's great.
Kinda,
or maybe open projects you've had for years.
Exactly.
And that gives you a little bit of inspiration and where you see that project in a different lens now, you made it better. Yeah.
And there's new streams of income and things that we can do, like with the virtual events. I know you've done so many virtual events, and there's even things opening up with just like virtual reality DJing and the metaverse and all these things that will be going on, expanding that we can be a part of, and even with people selling, like we get booked to, do a private event or to help sell alcohol at a club. We're going to be able to help sell NFTs or whatever people want to sell on the internet. We're there, like you said, as a solution or to provide this service to help people do what they want to do. So I think if we just keep our eyes and ears open, we'll see these opportunities as they keep coming to us, and we don't have to just go with the old school model the whole time.
Absolutely. And I think most people would argue this, but I am a very firm believer that I think things are in abundance. I don't think, like people like to use the term like it's oversaturated. It's this. I'm like, things are abundant. You're not welcome. Your energy is so closed in that things don't come to you naturally. So it's really the energy you put out there. And once you identify your core values, you'll know things that are fit for you. And when you specialize in a thing, people will like gravitate to that. I had a homegirl who did nothing but DJ kids events. And I think a lot of people feel some type of way about kids events, weddings and all that. But she said boldly leaned in. Says, I only do kids events. You know what happened? She ended up being the go-to person in the celebrity world for DJing kids events to the point she was quoting so high because she was known for that. Yeah. So there comes to, there's something that comes to knowing who you are and what is of your interest and fully leaning into that 100%. Yeah. And I think and I'm not perfect at this. We've talked about this before, how the safe route sometimes is us wearing this one size fits all t-shirt in DJ gigs and not being known for anything. And then we kind of get lost in that's the whole saturation and competitors thing. Because if you're not really solid in standing and showcasing what you're really good at, interested in, and all of that, then you kind of forgotten. And then that's where the comparison happens. Yeah, where people compare you, where I don't think people should be comparing us to another thing because there's only one Spider. There's only one Dazzler. There's only one of us. Right. And so there's a lot of things that we can be best suited for. So I'm getting better at that mind shift. I'm not perfect at it. Like I do, like you, I want to do every gig. I think we can equally do every type of a gig on the planet with zero to little notice and knock it out. But I think really focusing in and elevating our value that way, that's the route to go. Yeah, and it's hard as humans to not look at social media and compare and go, wait, I want to do that, or I could do that, or why wasn't I considered for that? Yeah, exactly. Or how did they get that? Right, exactly. So that's part of it. But you have to just, acknowledge that's happening and then do what you will with it, and then, but I think your advice is like really good, in that respect, with the, being authentic to who you are, your core values, and trying to manifest the type of things that you want to DJ and the type of people that will be attracted to you and want you to be part of their event, and then you'll create long-term relationships and stuff like that as well. That's really how the biggest thing to leverage is the relationship. I hope in this wave of us, I hope we're all thriving, here from here on out from what we've been through. But I think accepting a gig and doing the gig for the sake of the gig is just a door closed. Like after that gig, how can you leverage that into other things and someone else? Like, how would you, I mean, this community, the follow-up game is really weak, I think. I think we can all do better.
Yeah.
You know, like after that gig, do you thank that person in their preferred method of communication? Do you check up on them regularly and just put yourself top of mind? Or do you genuinely connect with them in other ways?
Yeah.
And that's how you can be remembered.
Do you do that, or do you have a technique?
That's my favorite thing to do ever.
What are some tips in that realm? You know, of following up and being authentic with your communication with them, not on some like,
here's a fruit basket.
Yeah, here's edible arrangements and like whatever.
That is definitely the key. Like you got in anything you do, but particularly this, you have to be super intentful.
Yeah.
Even beyond strategic, but intentful, where it's genuine, where you that you care and you want to build that relationship and show interest. So I think a lot of the things that resonate with me with that is because, like, especially for these recent wave of clients, that it was definitely a value match. That's why I got hired 100%. And so even as people, the gig aside, I just connected with them as people, whether it's similar interests or actually, like, one of my Disney contacts, her and I are going to SoFi Stadium this weekend. And
nice.
That's something like I'm treating her to because, hey, like we just became friends and we have this common interest in like live events, and she's an event producer. And so am I, actually. That's my trade. And so we have that in common, and it's LA and she loves LA, and I'm a huge Rams fan. So we're going to like check that out together. And it's during our off time. It's something, my professional relationship with her technically has ended, but staying in touch with them and
yeah, that's great.
And keeping that forward. And then obviously social media helps if you're genuinely interacting with people.
Right.
And I think that goes beyond a like or 5 emojis in the comments. Like it really, like if you're really invested in someone, it's like, honestly, it's a courtship, no? Like it's like this whole dancing act of communication, being authentic, showing up as yourself, and doing things the way that resonate with you. So the way I do things might not be the same way you do, and that's totally okay. But I think the receiving end of that can tell if you're true to yourself or if it feels like a business transaction.
Totally.
And I feel like my process along the way, other than, in fact, prior to you ever booking me or anyone ever booking me, there's even specific vocabulary I do not use. If you want me, like, to make it attractive to hire me. Is that worth even saying? Like,
yeah, sure.
So I don't use the B word in my
like booking
budget.
Oh.
I have other language I use.
What do you say?
I say, for the most part, a lot of my leads go, that's just out of your budget. So I don't talk about the word money or budget. It's like, oh really? Like, well, tell me more what's in your financial comfort zone, or what's in your,
not bad.
Your what's something that's comfortable for you to work with, or something like that. Like, because full disclosure, I'm not managed. I've never had a formal manager. I've done all my bookings myself. Like you, I've taken gigs from different agencies. I have great relationships with all of them.
Yeah.
And I that's also, you got to show value there as well.
Yeah.
But when you're standing up for yourself and representing yourself, I think it's easy for DJs to feel like they're being pushed in a corner to work with budgets, demands, and all that. And again, coming at a place of education and telling clients of how to see this service through and how you're the only person fit for the job. So there's little things that I've, taken along the way to use. But in terms of like money, I don't say the word. So after dotted line side, I say that word budget. Like, oh, you wanted that? That's actually extra.
Right.
But like,
no, that makes sense. I've had similar things like that too, where I'm just like, just let me know a number that you feel comfortable, being in, or a price range, or so. It's not as I guess calculated as you're saying. But I think that's smart, approaching it like that, because same thing. I'd rather them just tell me what they have to work with, and then I can figure out if it's worth it for me, and it's a relationship I want to build upon, or if it's just some one-time thing and it's not worth it for me, or whatever it is.
I will say with that strategy, which I like, I would encourage DJs to then not surrender. So once they, this whole tale of whoever says a number first loses. I actually don't believe that entirely these days, because I think transparency benefits both parties.
Right. I say sometimes, like, if they won't tell me, I'll ask them the budget, but then if they won't tell me, I'll be like, okay, I'm usually in this range. And then a lot of times they go, whoa, that's a lot, you know, and so I'm like, okay, well, I'm just telling you things I get for gigs, but if you tell me what you have, then maybe we can work together and you get someone that gets paid well, but I could do it for less for you because we, you know, are starting a relationship. But because also they're scared to insult you, or they're scared to then say too high of a number, and you know, they're playing the game as well.
I'll tell you, in my rebrand, what I'm also doing so that I attract more of what I want. Yeah. I am officially now saying, before we have a Zoom call, which now I have embedded in my, I guess if you want to call a sales process, I make that a mandatory thing now, because I want us to vibe in this level. Like, if we don't, then there's no use for us to continue on whatever it is, and there's no price tag on that. But for even us to get there, I even say now my rates start at this, and that way it's up to you to tell me if this conversation continue on or if it shouldn't. Exactly. So that way, you know what?
We're not wasting either of our time.
Yeah, right. And there's just other better suited options for that person. Yeah. And I think sometimes we fall into this trap of being over accommodating. And listen, it's not because I think we're not bad people as an industry. I think we're passionate what we do. We so badly want to be booked for the money, for the actual act of DJing, because we all love it so much. Right. But I also think what DJs forget is that we should also protect our market as well. So, for example, if I got a lead that I could not do, I want to be able to be like, God, I am booked, but DJ Spider, a good friend of mine, is very capable of this gig. Can I hand this over to you knowing that this rate is acceptable? I would take it and he would take it too. Yeah. There's nothing on this planet these days anymore that makes me so happy to like give somebody else another 100%. Opportunity.
Yeah, I love have friends doing that I do that with as well, and I trust 100%. Right. Or if I know this person's good for this or that, you know, same kind of thing. Just like, trust me, because I'd rather keep it in the family too. Yeah. And
then you know what I think too, self-awareness, like, or let's say the opposite thing. Let's say you are available, and how many. I've had this happen several times to me where I'll get a lead and you already know while reading that email, you're like, I'm not even a fit for this gig. But in your mind, you want to try to make it work, right? Yeah. So now I'm getting comfortable with, hey, client X, this sounds like an amazing opportunity. Although I'm available, I actually think I know someone who can even knock this out better than I can. Right. And I think clients would respect us for doing that. Because A, you're looking out for their best interests. B, you're giving another person in the community an opportunity. And I just think that cycle of taking care of each other is so important. And again, the abundance factor, I'm like, okay, that gig wasn't for me. It's totally fine. Something else will come in. Yeah. And truthfully, I think that's what I'd credit this year for me to be fruitful, because coming to the awareness factor of knowing what was for me and passing things along for various reasons. Right. You know, I would encourage that. I don't see that a lot from our community, but then I know you do that. I know Daisy does that. Who's fantastic with that. Another amazing DJ in our community. But I think sometimes some gigs are square pegs and we're the circle holes, you know, like we're trying to make it work. Yeah. And I think it's not a good experience for you as the DJ and for the client. Like, you know, when you've done your best, I think. And you know, actually a good friend of mine, DJ Fraser Davis, we talked about this. She coined the term gig dread. Like, you know, when you have that date in the calendar and it's like, okay, I guess I'll just do it. The money's not that good, or gig is not that exciting. Yes. And it's like, it's 3 months away, whatever, I'll deal with it. And then a month comes and it's weeks and you're just dreading it. It's like, let's eliminate that feeling, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, but then you want to work sometimes and you just do it, or the price tag is, you know, enough. But I agree, you know, it's better, you're better off recommending somebody that could do it, you know, or is the right fit for it. And I think the client will respect you more.
Let's say if you do want it so badly, like, then bring on a DJ with you. Like, I do those a lot with my majority Latin-based music. Like, although I have robust knowledge in it.
Yeah.
Like, it would benefit me to bring someone who specializes in this. And gosh, in our even internal community, like in DJcity Beatsource, there's so many amazing ones.
Yeah.
And it's cool. I get to work with so-and-so, and I get to break bread with them, and then this client is going to have an amazing experience. And, and it's like, I love working with friends. It's like you're not a Lone Ranger, like at your gigs.
I know. So
one day you and I will have to share an appetizer.
Oh, for sure.
At a gig or so.
That would be great. Yeah, I mean, all of that, honestly, I think is so valuable and interesting, just from the wording and the follow-up with the clients and just your approach to all of that stuff, and the knowing who you are so you don't get stuck in the decision-making of, should I do this? I don't know. Is this, like, no, this is not good for me. Yes, this is good for me. I will do this, and I'm in, and then start filling up your calendar in that respect, where things that you feel good about and you don't have the gig dread, like Fraser Davis said.
For sure, yeah. It was so funny when she said, she's like, girl, I'm having major gig dread with some. This is a couple of years ago. I'm like, oh my, that's brilliant. We've been there, right? You're like when you're just not looking forward to that gig, and that's like, we have the best jobs in the world, Spider. Like, we should
and I will admit, sometimes those have been great. I've had like gig dread about some, and then I came home and I'm telling my wife, she's like, oh, was it bad? I'm like, it was the best. And I'm like, and I learned about so much new music. Like, that's the thing with a lot of these corporate events. When they do ask me for things, I have a whole new set of tools and arsenal to then bring forward going forward. Even since the pandemic, since I've come back and been doing a lot of private events, and it's okay to be doing them now, I've been getting asked for deep house or house music or funky house. All this house music is like so big now, and I'd rarely been asked for that before. And now I had to do so much research into it, and I've done so many parties with it, and they've gone well, and I can see what people dance to and don't, and what they like, and what I can use with my little mashup blending skills within it. And now I feel confident to do that. I got hit up to do potentially this 4-hour private event and, deep house, and they wanted all that stuff. And my friend who does a lot of events hit me, was like, I don't know anything about this. This isn't what I do. And I go, I know everything now. I got either I'll give you a whole crate and you can do it, or pass it to me and I'll do it,
Yeah.
But I feel confident in that respect. So, sometimes you just go do the gig and it's not good, but
right. Yeah.
So sometimes it leads to that uncomfortable feeling will lead to something good, I guess.
Yeah, but I think you also have you're an optimist in my eyes. So I think you really...
I like a challenge, and I like to be optimistic about it. And I feel like a lot of DJs are like, that's not my thing. Yeah. No. And you're like, okay, I think you could do it. I have more faith in a lot of DJs than they have in themselves a lot of the time.
I think some of them are stuck in their ways for sure.
Yeah. And I think that the word DJ puts us all into one category. And the way you're saying it is that everybody's different. There's room for everyone. This is what I've always said. We're not competing necessarily. We are in one sense, but there is a lot of room for everyone. And you don't have to compare yourself. You see these people on Twitter and they're comparing themselves against each other when it doesn't make sense. You're like, you're this type of DJ that does this type of gigs, and this is this type of DJ. Why are you even arguing or comparing yourselves against each other? Just let each other live in your own realm.
And what's sad about that is I see a unique opportunity for those two DJs to work with each other.
Exactly.
If they shared music, like they all came up, and I don't understand it sometimes. I think it's a level of deep unhappiness, not rooted from DJing itself, but there's just internal insecurities.
Yes.
There are things that are unresolved for them, and it just happens to spill out in this art form, unfortunately.
No, it's true. And so what about some of the other stuff do you want to talk about that you were doing during the pandemic and things you put out there? Because I saw you doing some clubhouse rooms and almost I think live broadcasts with a tax lawyer or a tax accountant.
One of my favorite things that I did during this pandemic. And
so, what was that? That seems like it would be helpful to other DJs.
100%. So midway through summer, when things weren't opening, I'm like, holy crap. I got to figure something out. Yes, for income purposes, but at some point things are going to come back, right?
Yeah.
necessarily want to come back as the same DJ Dazzler. I want to come back refreshed. I want to come back with systems in place. I want to scale. I want to grow. I can't imagine I'm not the only one who feels this way. So one of the things that was a priority for me was getting my business finances stuff on point. Now I feel like I will confidently say I think I'm better than our peers, but I'm not perfect in a lot of areas. In full disclosure, I'll say that. So one of the first things I did was I worked with a small business tax attorney who specializes with creative. So people like DJs. I brought him on our Clubhouse chats as well.
Yeah.
And there were some things that were so enlightening to me. First of all, I did not know this. Did you know? I didn't know we had to pay quarterly taxes. I thought we were just hit with one bill and we always owe. No, as independent contractors, as people who own our own businesses, you are to pay, if you live in the U.S., for those of you living international, I'm not sure what the rules are the same or not, but you are to pay quarterly taxes and their projections. So you might not know how much, like you might have a busy week.
Right.
It's not even say a month, but there could be times you're not even gigging for 2 weeks, but you have to do projections on how you make. And yes, you can wait. What I did before was this till the end of the year to be hit with, like, once you file and you're like crying because it's thousands of dollars you owe. But technically, if you do it that way, there's a fine print with the IRS that you're paying interest if you do it that way. And not a lot of DJs know that. So that was very eye-opening.
I wonder, does that apply if you have your own corporation or like you're incorporated?
Yes, it does. Like, because it's your own business. And because when you're paid, you're not getting taxes pulled out from, you're being 1099'd.
Right. So
you have to account for the taxes. Now, another thing that was very jarring for me that I encourage all DJs to do on a very simple level. So let's say a round number. Let's say you're getting paid $100 for a gig.
Right.
Let's say it's just $100. That $100 is not yours. You better believe when you deposit that $100 for the gig, there's a couple of things you have to account for. Already 15, depending on what tax bracket you fall in, 10 to 15, 20%, you need to put away for taxes. So let's say $80 you're left with.
Or even more.
Right. So $80. Did you have to pay parking for that gig? Was it $15? Minus that.
Right.
You also have to account for paying yourself, which is a different subject. So put that in account. So like when you come down to like the final amount, you're not left with much, which proves my point on the whole. We cannot be doing gigs for less than the average rate, or like we need to turn a page, because by the time you pay taxes, but by the time you pay expenses, music you bought, all of this, you're left with this amount. And I think what I've been hearing in the DJ community is they'll get paid, they put in their account, and it's just like, okay, it's replenished. And so now I have 6 accounts for DJ Dazzler.
Wow.
Literally, when I make a deposit, I just round it high just so I'm not surprised, like 20%, which is a lot. 20% I put in one account to account for taxes. I say expenses. It's not like I have expenses for every gig I do, but think about your operational expenses. Do you have a branded Gmail? Do you have a website? That costs money. Like, are you buying clothes and
Wait, what's a branded Gmail?
Oh, so my email address is daz@djdazzler.com. That domain email. Yeah, that costs money. So just replenishing that fund so that you're and
there's costs associated with it. You have to provide the equipment, and a lot of times I will outsource that, or I travel a ton, and I feel like before the pandemic, a lot of places were more on the nightclub end, but were more open to paying for a lot of the expenses. Yeah. And now coming back into it, it's like, hey, we got hit hard. Like, can you pay for ground, hotel, flight, food,
so
this, that? And
that's
I'm like,
hitting your bottom line, right?
Yeah, totally. So I've been having to do crazy math. Like, at least it's right off. It comes off your taxes, and there's that side of it. But still, it's like, and things are more expensive now. Like I read this morning that Dollar Tree might be selling things for more than a dollar. And I'm like,
my heart broke.
I
love me some Dollar Tree.
Store becomes the $1.98 store. Like, we should be getting paid more.
No, I was at 99-cent store and I saw something for $5.99.
Right. Okay, I did. What's going on here, guys? We're getting the increase. So I know it's funny. These places are like, we got hit hard. I'm like, we got hit hard too. Yeah. I appreciate the work and I'm happy to do it. And I'll work with them. But
being conscientious of that. I will say this, and I don't want to speak on it too much because I'm not the expert in this, but I really encourage DJs to LLC their business.
Yeah.
For the protection mainly. And gosh, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. Braden Drake, who I work with, and I talk about him a lot on my content. I highly recommended him. But from what I understand, it's for the protection already as it is. So again, I hope I'm saying this right. Say something, God forbid, happens and someone wanted to sue me. Well, sue the business.
Right.
And there's a partition. They don't come after your personal assets.
Yeah.
Guys, there's not much money in DJ Dazzler, so go ahead, take it all.
Right. And there's something with taxes too. Like if you're making a certain amount of money, it helps out your taxes, and you just put yourself on payroll and you just pay yourself.
So that's another thing. Everything that you get as a check shouldn't just go to your personal account and like, oh, you just replenished your check.
Right.
You have to pay the business, and then the business pays you as an individual. And I think that might be hard to wrap around some people's heads, because some DJs might be thinking, oh, I'm making only like, I get cash only, or I only do these $200 drink ticket gigs and whatnot. But I'll say this, in my much later life, what I found useful, in the beginning I was DJing, I was like pocketing that money, cash, whatever, not claiming it.
Right.
At some point, I want to own multiple properties, commercial, residential. And I got to show that I'm making money. So when someone asks, I think I hear the cringe when people say like they don't like being 1099.
Right.
I actually look forward to it now, because it's an actual statement of I'm getting paid, and this is reflecting. Yeah, that's the thing. Income. Like, I'm like, it's actually a benefit to you.
Totally.
If you're not reporting this income, I mean, first of all, we don't have to talk about the unethical part of it. I know, to each their own, no judgment.
Right.
But at some point, you won't qualify for loans that you want. Like, you want to buy a home? Hey, we live in California. It ain't cheap here.
No,
right?
So that's crazy.
And so to being aware of those things and properly tracking like your expenses. So what's coming in versus what's coming out. Grasping that's really what I worked on during the pandemic and still working on is. I'm that gal. I would love to buy a fresh new outfit for every gig, but does that make sense on my bottom line to do that? Or is it really that important? Or like, can I continuously write this off? And arguably, yes and no, I'm not sure. You know what I mean? So really hiring this, and when I say I hired him, he is, I don't want to say he's not for hire. I don't think that's true, but what he specializes in is the education of you as a business owner, understanding these concepts to the best of your ability. It's not an attractive subject. Like laws, finances, it's a very scary, for me, it's overwhelming. So he really teaches you on how to navigate it to the best of your ability. And
what's his name, or how do you find him?
Braden Drake. So I'm very patched into the, I would say the high-end weddings, corporate events. I think that's what I'm known for. And I belong to this network, or this networking group of very affluent vendors, if you will. And he's a gentleman in this sphere who specializes in working with small business and creatives, tax law, and anyway, like things that finances for that. So I got connected with him there. Highly recommended in my sphere of event folks. And
that's so cool,
because a lot of people in our field, I think, are we're entrepreneurs. We own our business, no matter if you think you only do a certain amount of gigs or you only do bar gigs, you are receiving income for services. So it should be funneled through accordingly. So working with him has been very eye-opening, which then another thing that I did was I hired a rebrand specialist.
Okay.
Because I wanted my online presence to match the type of gigs I wanted. And at its current state, it is not. So I did a lot of self, reflection and things I wanted to change. So that's identifying my core audience and catering to them. And really, like, I would challenge all the DJs listening, like, could you truly identify who your ideal client is? I could tell you the age range, how they read their email, how my clients read their email, what they smell like, what they're doing on Sunday. Like, get that specific.
What they smell like?
Oh, yeah. I could tell you they smell like what do you call Le Labo Santal 33. Like, that's my clientele. Like, they and I say that joking aside, because once you know who you're serving, you then know how to create content and you know how to speak to them.
Right.
And I think, and that's how you attract. So I think if you are, gosh, you know who does this really well? Our friends who DJ pro sports.
Yes.
Like they create content that's like, and that's how they get known for that. Like you think of the, Amy Robbins, Shauna, Ruche, like they really understand who they're trying to attract. And let's say if you don't know them, if you go on their page, it's very clear what they do.
Yeah.
And again, niching down,
totally
being self-aware,
yeah.
and it all circles back. And I really encourage DJs to identify and think big. Like, okay, let's say if you're not serving those people, who do you want to serve?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us post for the sake of post with no strategy. And
right.
I strongly feel about this. I think DJs post to please other DJs. Like I think DJs dress like other DJs. Like we call it the DJ uniform. Like snapback,
Jordans
black hat.
and black clothes.
Yeah, and it's just like to not stand out or what is it? I'm like, no, you should. I know, right? Like, look at him. And
what's Vlat's wearing over here?
I love me some Jordans. I love me a good black outfit. I love a good hat. But no, this is a time to stand out.
Yeah.
If people are only seeing you in passing on IG or like your website or online, it's just very quick.
It's funny because it's hard. You come into this industry looking up to your idols and these people. So, of course, you're going to imitate them with their clothing, the way they talk, the way they act, the way they play music, and all those things. And then you're going to do things that you want to impress them. But it is funny that through all the time, you finally get to the realization that you shouldn't be doing that. It doesn't matter. And you really should be. And it's not as general as that. It is good to, I guess, impress or whatever, get in good with other DJs because within their markets, they'll recommend you just like the same way for the gigs and for the things. There's a fine line to it, but you can't live your life trying to do it. So like, for example, this last Saturday, I was in Vegas DJing and I've had a thing. I've been DJing in Vegas forever, for 15 years more, with residencies, and I've been lucky enough to do all this stuff. But I still will have this thought process before all the gigs, and I had to come back after the pandemic and come back into it going, oh, what am I going to play? I got all this cool stuff. I got all this. And I was like, I'm here to DJ for the crowd. I know a bunch of DJs are going to come see me, and I'm sure some stuff I do will impress them or something, but I need to DJ for the crowd. And that's even what I tell other DJs, that if you got the crowd going, but you're playing like party rock anthem or something that someone would consider cheesy now or something, like people are still just going to remember the crowd going crazy. They're not going to remember the song you played or your impressive like thing. It's still cool to do dope DJ stuff and I'm all for it, but I understand what you're saying.
I think we give our peers, our community, I think that's
don't try too hard to impress the other DJs.
Seek the approval of fellow DJs too much and too often.
It's so true. Nick Spinelli talked about it on this show, that he was trying to be this cool guy DJ and afraid to say that he wanted to be a wedding DJ and that he loved it. And then once he finally accepted his truth.
Oh my God, and he's killing it now. Like,
exactly. And he was able to live that life how he wanted and do a wedding DJ that uses turntables and scratches and plays crazy songs. And he has his own perspectives on it that were very interesting. And I think that it's something that DJs need to take from just people in real life of be yourself, be authentically yourself, and you're going to get way farther with it than trying to impress every other DJ or get the shoes that somebody else has or play the song you don't even know what it is, or something like that, So I agree. It's an important point.
Presentation is important for sure of how you're presenting yourself, whether it's how you look and whatnot. But I do have a funny story for you.
Yeah, please.
That did not work in my favor. Oh my God.
Okay,
first of all,
happened?
I don't think other than an empty clubhouse room, I don't think anybody knows this story. So you're the first one to know. So you and I do very similar gigs, like and I'm surprised we actually have not worked with each other formally. Oh no, we did like Rise together. We Rise together a few years back.
Yeah,
right?
I forgot about that.
We've never worked together,
fun.
Because we do the similar types of gigs. So
yeah, but a lot of times we just get hired. We're one person
one
at
off,
the one thing.
So I did pre-COVID. I was on this trade show thing. So have you done trade shows? It's a very aggressive schedule.
Yes.
Like the multi-day ones. So I did one.
That was some of my initial gigs were like those, but I tried not to. Yeah. I tried to just get booked for the guest set rather
Sure.
than the 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
No,
set.
I did a trade show in Vegas. It was a multi-day, and see, folks like you and I, like, we're not like the glitter. Listen, Vegas is great, but the glitter and sparkle, like we're not fazed by it. You know, we live in a metro area. Vegas is pretty approachable,
right?
And Vegas is very attractive to like these. It's a destination for like middle of America, like, or if you're certainly not on the West Coast, like people get excited. So I think,
for sure.
So I would do a ton of trade shows in Vegas, and so historically the trade show schedule I'd have is they're not long sets actually. I'm just like busy throughout the day, so it's like like I'm opening up for the guest speaker, so it's a 15-minute set there.
Right.
Let me go use the bathroom. I got to go to another seminar and DJ for an hour, and then this happy hour, and this. So it's like very short sets, but it's a lot, and it's across a 4-day spread. So it's funny, these trade shows, you're very, as a DJ, you're very highly revered. Like you're on Collateral, you're like, it's awkward. Like you're on like marquees, and it's just like, I humbly, and I'm totally fine with this, I'm literally no one. And it's funny because people look forward to you, which is flattering. So we're on night 3, oh my God, of this trade show. And, it's all about these network, speaking of leveraging, you definitely, at these types of events, you want to meet as many people as possible and like strike those genuine connections. Yeah. So there's a lot of after parties and events at these trade shows. And by day 3, I'm tired. There's another like full day of this.
Yeah,
and
especially if you're in Vegas.
My like go-to like thing is like, yeah, I might like see you there, but like really not go, right? Yeah. It's like, so there was this after party at, what's that one in Aria? Is it Jewel?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was this after party, a brand had like outfitted, like they must have been a key sponsor, and they were trying to have this thing, and like, we have a pass for you, sit at our table. Yeah. And I was like, oh, like maybe I'll see you there, with no intention of going. So I go to my hotel and do a power nap, and I thought maybe I should go because like maybe I'll meet some key people. So I roll solo. Right. And I come back like at 5 a.m. I'm not like belligerently drunk or something, but I know I had to like be freshened up because the next day was the last formal day of programming, and they wanted all the guest speakers, DJ, to like, I'm not on a panel, but like the front facing people to like be on the stage and a photo moment or something. Yeah. So it was a big day that I know I had to be there. So I wake up and I'm lacking caffeine very much. And I wake up, like I had to be, so I roll in at 5, I wake up at 8, and I was like, I need coffee. So I go to the hotel Starbucks, the lobby Starbucks. Right. And because I just woke up, put hair up, I did not look presentable. So for presentation purposes. So I'm in line, I'm looking at the menu, and I cannot make of anything that I want. And I get a tap on the shoulder. And I turn around, it's camera, so content, right? It's the in-house conferences video team. No. And DJ Dazzler, like, how do you feel? Like, already, like, so there's these types of lights, camera on, and
this is where masks would have been
right,
good.
and the mic with the with the square thing that has the logo,
like MTV.
Totally. And they're asking, how do you feel about this conference? What I'm about to tell you, I do not recommend to do this. DJ Dazzler, how are you? Like, you're the DJ for this conference. How are you feeling? How are you doing? Like, what are you looking forward to next? Without thinking, I all of a sudden developed a Southern accent. No. Swear. And I said, DJ Dazzler, oh, I'm Ramona. I'm here for a bachelor party. Is this where the pool party is? The bride is completely hammered. I'm just trying to get our group some coffee. Swear to God, without thinking.
Did they believe you?
I do not think she bought it. I looked.
She was like,
I swear to you, I was
Twilight
literally because I wasn't wearing makeup, or and it was from the night before, and I was not as my presentation self. And I literally do not like. Funny, I haven't done that conference again. I don't think the two are related. They haven't done a conference in a while, and there's footage of this, I think, because I will not ask for it, but I'm pretty sure this exists.
That's bold. That's like someone that gets caught for a crime. Like, that's not me.
I just realized when I went back up, my eyelash, because these eyelashes was on like my forehead right here, because I just wore a hoodie and I wore sweats to get on me. Yeah. Wow. And so talking about being on, like, presentation, like follow my advice, DJ Dazzler. Like no matter if I'm just going, and because you go to these conferences, people are everywhere. They have their badges. They have, you know, people are trying to network with each other. So you are seen.
Oh yeah.
So very much a learning experience. I cannot believe I did that. Like I just did it without thinking.
That's so funny. Oh
like
my
I
God.
just did it. Like who does that?
That's a good technique.
No, I would like I don't think I've ever told that
You're
to
like,
anybody.
tally ho, mate.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking
like,
about.
I'm here for a bachelorette party. This is where I go for the
DJ
pool party.
Dazzler, what kind of name is that? I don't know. That's crazy. Oh my God. Well, good technique.
That was my very lack of Academy Award.
That's like something happens in like a movie, like a Disney movie. That's why you got hired for the Disney events.
Want to know something hilarious about that? Okay, so all the things that we touched about with Disney, I totally got hired because of that, because I was professional and I was, and I talk about leveraging, and let me tell you how I leveraged that. I initially got called to do that gig as a one-off.
Oh, wow.
As a one event.
Like the Disney Plus tour thing.
So what I did was, before I scheduled a call with her, people researched the things that people are inquiring about, like so especially something big like that.
Right.
So it was just one date that they were looking at. So I look and I see they had just done, or they're about to do New York, Chicago, and this. And I think they had they in the email they blatantly said, "Oh, things are taken care of there. We're not having that type of talent or whatever." So they're asking me for one date. I noticed they have several dates.
Right.
So I offered up the opportunity. I'm like, I know you're asking me about this date, but how would you feel about I do all these dates?
Right.
And then I did the proposal with the rates and whatnot. And talk about, I could have just instantly said, I could have just instantly said yes to the rate and yes to that opportunity. Right. Instead, like sevenfold.
Right. That's great.
Elevated. And I would say, I will candidly tell you, Disney Plus has been one of the obviously fulfilling, amazing brand, connected as a brand. Yeah. But it was a financially rewarding experience too.
That's great.
You know, like even just doing that. So all the check boxes were marked for that thing, like in the things that I believe in, how the processes. Yeah. And I want to attract more of that type of opportunity. Right. You know? Yeah.
Well, I think it's good also you have that thought to just put together the proposal and offer yourself up for those and give the rates and really lay it out for them in an easy way for them to accept or not.
I also recommend, I'll tell you what's worked for me, because I know DJs would be curious about this. I don't just spill out a rate in the body of an email. I think you need to talk about presentation, present it in such a way of where it's attractive. I don't.
What do you mean? Like that's where you go on Zoom and talk to them, or you have a way to?
I have a pretty attractive proposal.
Oh, okay.
A very you can't that you. I would say most clients are so impressed by it that some of them, I don't even think if I was, let's say I was outside their price wheelhouse box. Yeah. I think I've won them over in that experience.
Amazing.
The Zoom call solidifies that. Because I think this interaction here, listen, although I'm not a perfect human being, I would say I'm a pleasant human being. So
very, very pleasant.
So mix our candid conversation and how we connect with people along with whatever price tag might be on. I think people are willing to budge and accommodate.
And what do you mean the presentation? Like you have like a document that you like templates?
I also have like a very an attachment that spells out who I am, things that are important to me. Why am I a fit for you type of thing? And before we even talk about money, I actually want to have a conversation with you and see if we do connect. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I don't think days for me are gone of like, hey, how much does this cost to do this? At least for the higher ticketed contracts I'm after. Yeah. I think there's a lot of courtship, as I mentioned, that goes along with that. And I think you have to balance that out with the timeliness. I wouldn't be surprised if most of my clients have had to they're hitting a bunch of DJs up, and I respect that and I welcome that. I actually really encourage clients to look at other options, you know, like find the thing that's right fit for you. Because we all do things so differently. But I do have a method of what I do, and follow up is totally key. Yeah. And all of this, but
following up is hard because you don't want to be not hit them up enough. You know, you want to be persistent enough, but not annoying, and you want to be, you know, on top of it, but not like, hey, leave me alone.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And I think, I actually think for, especially like someone like you, especially who's very like pleasant, I think once you get face to face with someone, and as simple as a Zoom call, like, first of all, I don't think many DJs do that. I think it's too anxiety driven. But I think, again, these
Well, it gets hard when you have a booking, like, because I go in and out of having booking agents and that. And so when I do
ones for
yourself, just kind of go, hey, talk to my booking agent, and just pass it off. And then I'm out of the mix, which is actually great. I love it. But yes, maybe sometimes it can.
Sure. But sometimes you have your own contacts as well, and they want to work with you,
for sure.
Right?
But that's what I'm saying is that I think you're right that maybe sometimes it's not as good when I just pass it off. I don't necessarily have as long of a lasting relationship.
And you're someone with like you're very notable, Spider. Like, I think some of these clients are like, oh my God, I get to talk to DJ Spider and he's going to take care. Like, hell, that's like something I think you should run with. And
right.
And I think we all
No,
have
I'm happy to talk to him. I do that primarily. A lot of times I do it for a wedding because I won't say yes to just any wedding. So I like to connect with them. If we can do Zoom or the phone, it's great because I get to hear each other. We get to hear each other's voice. I get to understand what kind of people they are, what kind of music they like, what they're thinking, what they're imagining, and realize this is not for me, or this could be fun.
Of that,
and more, I'm like, I'm cool with doing weddings because people are cool and have cool music taste, and they seem good now. So I used to be very against it, but now it's good, and especially after the pandemic, that's been where there is money still.
People don't like skim out. If you don't want to do weddings, any DJ, if you know yourself, that's great. Then you know not to take those on. But actually, being passionate in the events world, weddings. Weddings up 20, you can't even get married in 2022. Everything's being booked from the rebook. So what does that mean for folks like us? Your value gets to shoot up more because the scarcity of available people, for sure. Like, I think some of us, I'm taking on rebooks from last year. So that gave me no opportunity to open up for someone for this upcoming year because I'm doing the rebook. So that was a great way for me to elevate I'm booked. To price points and whatnot. So
totally. That's that's so interesting. Everything you said, I think people are gonna have to go back and rewind and take notes on and all this stuff.
And listen, I'm just as much as a student. I'm still learning as well.
Yeah,
so
but
I've kind of found a way how it works for me, and then investing in yourself and seeing that that lane. And
I think that's important. And I think that's something you've touched on is investing in yourself. Like you said, you've hired rebranding person, redoing your site, redoing your image and all these things. And you said, that you had like a sales coach or something, right?
She's the one. Oh, I didn't.
So what's that about? I don't know if we talked about that.
I hate calling her a sales coach because she's so much more than that. And it's going to sound too woo-y, like too cheesy maybe. No, but yes, I'll say it for this purpose. She's the one who really changed my perspective on a lot of things and encouraged me to significantly raise my rates, to the point where it was almost like...
I tell my friends that all the time. Just say high numbers, you know what I mean? Rates. Because you've worked this hard to get to this point. You can't devalue yourself. And yes, I know it's easy to bring a speaker and all the stuff and go DJ for 3 hours at the place, but you worked for 10 years up to that point.
But I also think beyond that too is there is literally no one else like me. Right. So guess what? That's limited edition, and limited edition is always more.
Yeah.
And I wish more of our community felt that way about themselves.
Right.
In terms of being the proper and only solution for something. That's how I go about things. I'm like, there is nobody else perfect for this gig than me, and there's a price tag attached to that. Yeah. And honestly, that's how these recent clients as of late, it was that mind shift that really got me thinking that way. And being confident, my confidence in speaking numbers has really cleaned up. I know that's sometimes when DJs say, God, I have to quote, how much would this be? How much is that?
And do you quote? I know some people do it in hourly and some people do it in just this is how much my rate is for this gig of this many hours or being this far away or whatever.
That's a great question. And I will start by saying I don't think there is a wrong answer to that.
Me either.
I think I don't have a one price for all. Obviously the gig and opportunity varies.
Yeah.
I think though, educating your clients is what's probably the most important in thinking your time what you're actually doing in that scope of pricing and what that pricing includes. So a lot of the things I've done, I've made it an all-inclusive price. And so it's this really big, robust number.
Yeah.
And I already know they're thinking, why is that so much in their eyes? Like when it's not, but maybe to them it is. And really getting ahead and managing their expectations.
Yeah.
Because I think if they're thrown an arbitrary number and they don't understand what they're getting, who they're getting, that's when the resistance happens. And I think it's really up to us as the talent, as the person serving, to provide that along the way. And that's why these little things are important. Like having a branded email. Well, email, and this is just a personal opinion. I find it very hard to respect or give authority to a business. And I'm not even saying in the DJ world. Like if I'm hiring an attorney and they're emailing me from their whatever 1573@gmail.com, I'm like, do you not have it together? Like you're this like Esquire like business, and like why isn't it at whatever your attorney at your firm name.com? Like there's some intangibles that will help elevate you, and people don't question your authority. I think having an email signature, a graphically stunning email signature, adds value to you. I know it's a little detail, but how you if you were to email someone of authority and they're emailing you back, like you think about your own personal experience, and it's just like at whatever 157@yahoo.com, and there's no signature, and this is someone like a specialist you're trying to hire. It's like in your mind, why give your potential clients a reason to question you, your authority, and your rate, right? I feel like it's always a common theme, like it's the rate. I'm like, if you have those things lined up, it's like you've already in the winning to get these things.
That's true. That's true.
That's also just my personal opinion taste. I also will say
think that's a good point.
Most of the people that hire me are women. To my benefit, I am a woman, so I know how they think. So I think that way. It's not for everything. I know that's just my deeply ingrained thought process.
Well, and I think a majority of event planners are women. As well, I've noticed.
Yeah. So and being professional in those ways. And so guess what? None of those things have to do with DJing at all. The gig's not for another 2 months. Yeah. But why are we making it hard for ourselves to be seen, get booked, land a phone call even?
Right.
There's somebody else they're talking to who have all those things. Hey, listen, that other person might not even be technically skilled as you or whatever, or been DJing nearly as long or is nearly experienced, but has all those things because that's what brought him or her to the forefront.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Were there any other specific tips that the sales coach tells you, like for language-wise or things to include or not include?
My favorite thing that I learned from her is the reason why it's awkward to talk about money is because we make it awkward. Like things are just like, it's just actually money. It's just a cost. So like if you say things with confidence and people can sniff the uncertainty of tone and whatnot. But I think what I loved about her is that she really made me view money and talking about money much differently. And I do that not even just with DJing, just with everything now. Just confidently asking for such and welcoming the conversation for rebuttal and negotiation. Sure.
Of course.
But not being so timid where to the point you're not even responding to your client. I hear that from our peers. Like some of them just won't respond. I'm like, are you serious? You're leaving money on the table like that? Like you got to be at least know where the temperature check is.
Yeah.
Like, was that too low? Was that too high? Like just get some dialogue going.
Yeah.
And if anything, never mind the DJing. Just help them get to a point on their way. Like if you don't feel comfortable, just be a good person and get them on their way.
Totally.
No,
it's true. It is. I mean, that is somewhat of a conversation stopper some of the times because
I love it now.
Don't know what to say.
And I think genuinely because I do genuinely care. Like yes. Do I want the gig for financial purposes? Yes. Is it a great look? Yes, or maybe. But really, there's another. How flattering is it that somebody reached out to you, DJ, and they're looking for you for the answers? That is so flattering. They think that I'm the solution for this, and it can, whether it's not a fit or not, it's just they're asking for your help. I just think that's just wildly.
Well, that's where that imposter syndrome thing comes in.
That's
where you're
real.
you don't think you're the expert. you don't see yourself how they see you. You know, you don't realize that they're looking to you for the answers, and you are important and you are an expert, but in your head, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, because it's self-comparison with the peers, and you don't know who you are. Part of that goes back to the whole your core values. You don't know who you are. All you have this litmus test of, or like this comparison test of, oh, so and so has 5 gigs a week and I don't, and like, and it's all of this, and so and so is traveling, and oh, they're here and they got that tour, and it. I think a lot of the DJs in our community make their next steps and actions because of those things.
Yes.
And not things that they can grow and scale from.
Yeah, that's true. Good points.
Yeah, I hope,
And some other stuff to touch on that you just started to talk about, I think, is women in our industry. You know, I think that's something you are passionate about, something that needs to be constantly talked about and brought up as much as people feel like it's spoken about. It's hard in a lot of industries, especially the DJ industry.
Yeah.
You know, and you are in charge of these Ladies Linkup events for DJcity and Beatsource, as well as, I mean, like, I've gone to some of them. I remember everybody was like, why are you here?
No.
You're the only guy.
Listen,
I was like, I'm here to support.
It's totally open to everyone.
That's what I was trying to say.
Totally
I was like, hey, but I was like the only man there. And I'm like,
no,
hey,
and we appreciated your presence.
But I was just coming to support, you know? I mean, I'm not coming to be a creep or something.
No, not at all. And I don't think anybody felt that way. I will say.
That's what Vlatz would do. No, I'm just kidding.
Vlatz was there too.
Yes,
Thank you,
we were the only guys.
Yeah.
There was donuts on the wall, okay? That's what you guys were missing out on, okay? At the Ladies Linkup, they have an entire wall of donuts.
When you go to a DJ Dazzler event, it is just top notch, okay?
I agree.
Let alone a Ladies Linkup.
We're going to have good food, good drinks, good design. There was
100%.
People getting headshots. Come on.
I take Ladies Linkup super seriously, and it's a project I'm very proud of. And I think you will see, and I think a lot, even internally as a team, I don't think, myself included, expected this thing to grow as it did. And a lot of our events, or, you know, we're at home base, we're here in LA, and each one grew and grew. And
well, I think it's much needed. That's what that shows.
Yeah, and part of it too is, I think a lot of people in our space think, listen, us female DJs, we go through a lot, and I think we're highly judged. What we wear, are they even, hey, is that DJ even, female DJ even good? Like, there's so many things that we're just against. And I think I was telling a group of my male DJ friends, I'm like, what do you think we talk about, like, as women in this space, like in these gatherings, that we wouldn't talk about in a normal, like, co-ed event? Like, oh, y'all probably talking about like makeup and hair. I'm like, yeah, that's part of it, but the truth is, there are people in our space, women, like, pregnant and DJing, pregnant and going to their gigs, and there's vaping and smoking, and how are we trying to have these conversations? There are the collective I'm not saying outing anybody, but some of us had miscarriages while DJing, you know, like, those serious conversations. And a lot of life conversations. I'll be totally honest with you and share this. Like, and I think I've only shared this with female DJs because they understand. But even I, recently went to the doctor, and my doctor encouraged me, if I want to have children, I don't have any children. If I want to have children, I should probably explore other ways to, like, navigate my career as a DJ. I don't think
What does that mean?
Well, I'm like, for like the lifestyle, DJ lifestyle, me physically, if I ever wanted to become pregnant, sometimes a DJ lifestyle doesn't match, having to, like, the demands of it. I would have to take time off. And I don't think my male counterpart friends could ever understand that.
Right.
And like my doctor asks me regularly, like, oh, so how's he's asking, is he naturally interested in my, this specialist? She's genuinely interested in my DJ life. She's fascinated to it, but she's curious to know what are my life choices, as, Mother Nature is dictating where this goes.
Right.
And we talk about those life serious things in Ladies Linkup, and I don't think the male counterparts could ever understand. Now, I know there are fathers in our DJ space. You're one of them, and some of them y'all are amazing, partners.
But it's different.
But
I
it's
agree.
different for us
I
in
understand.
this space.
Yeah.
To listen, I don't want to be in a position where I have to pick and choose whether I want motherhood or I want this career.
Right.
Because I don't think most of our community, which is male driven, have had to choose, or biologically have had to choose.
Right.
And those are things we have to factor into. And so you have that, and then people just judging us left and right, like, oh, is she even a good DJ? Oh, she's on a controller. Is she, on this? It's just, there's so much. And so creating a space where women are appreciated. Yeah. And I think I will be even so bold to say that I think even though some of our competitors have done this, tried to do the same thing and like creating their own female version, I actually am grateful that they did, because it gives more of an opportunity for women to be recognized. And I applaud that from a distance. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that women are recognized. Now, I think the part where most women would feel where we don't want to be treated as a commodity, like we don't want it to be where we're only supported on Women's History Month and that's it, or Women's Appreciation. Yeah. We want to be part of the conversation. So those are the things that we talk about. Like, and then, for Ladies Link Up, we also made a point to have some educational feature too as well. So we'll have a branding expert talk, or like, and then I love that we made it unique by providing headshots, like that doing that. Cool. Like, I don't think anybody has made that cohesive experience, and we don't charge like the attendees. Like I really am grateful for DJcity and Beatsource to, support me in this venture and make it so brand aligned, because I want us to be like resourceful for this community. And that also opens up, conversations for social justice things and like representation of all kinds. And people are able to meet each other for, there's a lot of, so already being a woman is a quality of why people get hired as well. But there's people that are niche in certain things, like, so getting some eyeballs, getting some shine on that. The talent, when I'm ever curating the lineup or something, I make it as diverse as possible. People that pair up people who don't know each other. Like, I try not to put people who are friends, so it gives you an opportunity to meet someone new, so you can learn from somebody. So it's a very big project that I'm really proud of. I do.
You should be. It's great, and I think it continues to grow and bring people together, bring awareness to things, even things like you're just saying now, that I feel like I'm pretty conscious and forward-thinking and progressive and supportive. But also, I don't even think about those things that you were mentioning. I've thought about them and I understand, but even with the, I'm in my own head and world, so I don't always get to think about that stuff. And even things like, I travel all over the place. I'm alone. I'm walking in the middle of the night in a dark alley or somewhere. Like, I guess like women probably have to worry a bit more than than I would,
I'm actually glad you mentioned that, because that's like an aspect too. It's like our experiences as in our creative space is different. And I think if I can wish one thing in that category, it's like, to get more people to recognize, no matter who you are, of this different experience that we have. Yeah,
totally. I think that's great. And I think it's good to shine a light on the things that women DJs deal with, talk about, care about, go through, because it's not going to be known in the same way where you're not going to, if you don't ask for your rate, no one's going to know what you want. And if you don't say what women DJs are going through or what they want or how we can work together to keep progressing, then it won't happen.
And there's just some things that are innately safer for us women to talk about in a female-oriented space, like body image, issues, health, biological health things. We have people of all sorts of identities in our space. So people are in transition or people with different sexuality preferences. And
that's the thing. There's non-binary. It's not just women and men. I mean, there's people that identify as non-binary.
And then people with, different preferences and being respectful of that, and how sometimes they're not part of the conversation. So and everything that I do, and, every time that there's a project or even internal within the confines of the space and out there, I always want to make sure that people are being represented. And, because even collectively, us in this room, we're all so different. So that should also reflect, the product that we put out there.
Totally. That's great. I think it's, I think it's important to constantly have those conversations and acknowledge what's going on. And if you feel uncomfortable about something or don't understand something, you should feel able to talk about that as well.
Ask.
Because I think a lot of people feel uncomfortable about things, so they either talk negatively about it or ignore it.
I think most people ignore it, for sure. I think
the
most common thing in that theme, like, what are someone's preferred pronouns? I think that's really...
And I think it's a joke to people, because like, what the hell? He, him, they, them, she, her, this, what is this shit? You know what I mean? Like, people, they don't understand it, so they just make it like, what is that?
They either ignore it or just stay uninformed.
But if you talk to people that are in the non-binary community, or in someone that wants their pronouns to be a certain way, whatever their reason is, it means a lot to them, and there's a big reason behind it. And it took me a while to understand that. I had to talk to people to fully understand all of it, know. But I think that I understand how important it is now, and I respect it 100%, and I support it, and whatever I could do to, further it and make it serious, I will.
I will say this. In my high-end elevated weddings, which I've been very selective on, I am loudly inclusive of the clientele that I attract. Like, I make it known, like, before you even know me, talk to me, you know that I'm inclusive, meaning I serve the LGBTQIA plus community. Multicultural. It is very, because it's not always upfront to those types of clients. So they want to feel seen and supported.
True.
So talk about, when we talked about earlier, like, what makes you, like, showing what makes you stand out. So I told you I'm very white glove and very hands-on in my communication. Part of that, truthfully speaking, I make it known, a small detail, I no longer say ladies and gentlemen in any of my opening statements and corporate events, and especially weddings. Because you don't know if there are people there who do not identify as either or, and that's really offensive. I think people are just used to saying ladies and gentlemen, and truly it's not of the times anymore for me. And most of my clients actually appreciate that. So I know that's, I have other language that I use that addresses everybody's attention.
I know. What's the good generalized one where you can include everyone?
Because I use my personality, and I'm very, like, half sassy, I'm outgoing, so I lead with that. But I say family and friends a lot, quite a bit. That covers the basis. And just so people don't feel like they're not included, like, it's especially at a gathering of celebration. And
what about, like, you guys? Is that a bad thing?
I try not to say that, me personally.
Because I never thought it was a problem, but then as the time's gone on, I've been hearing it and then thinking, well, if other things are a problem, then you guys might be a problem, right?
That's a great question. I've actually pretty much abolished that from my vocabulary. Okay. And that's by my choice.
It's so hard because just like my go-to thing, like, what are you guys doing? Or how you guys feeling? Or what's up, guys?
It's a casual, like, a thing, and I've used that for many years. But
it's so weird.
I also think
it's just like part of our thing. I mean, I guess if you changed it to, like, girls, then you would notice it more or something.
Right. And it's, again, I think it has to do with being conscientious of who's in the room, who you're addressing, and just like being all inclusive. Listen, I think for even just a selfish reason, like, of being positively noticed and recognized, then you want to appeal to as many as people as possible. Now, certainly that's not the point I'm trying to make. Really, the intent is making people feel
100%.
that they're recognized, seen, and included.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy. Even like the party breaks.
Oh, right.
Where my ladies at? I mean, well, you do the ladies link up, so
yeah, it is, and it's funny.
You might have to change that.
I thought about that. I really,
but then what do you call it? The human link up? I'm not, and everyone out there, I'm not making fun of it. I'm literally.
This is a great dialogue, right? I thought about that too, like,
because I've had to learn. This has been something that I've been trying to learn, and I want to do the right thing. So if I don't do the right thing, I apologize, and I'm here to learn.
But I think it's obvious, even from my standpoint, that you truly are like, I don't think you've ever done in your own. But
I know.
I think people. But
still, if they don't want me to say you guys anymore, then maybe I'm trying to learn the new language, or that's something I never even thought about.
Folk.
Y'all, see, I gotta take from your fake Texas accent experience.
Oh my God, I still cannot believe I did that.
What's up, y'all? How y'all doing out there?
I do not recommend, for those of you even just tuning in, getting away from a situation with a fake persona and an accent. That was horrible. I literally cannot believe I did that. That was a panic attack. Like I didn't know.
That's a good. I thought it was good. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting, all that stuff. So I think it's constantly learning. I think don't be afraid to mess up and ask for help and explain how you feel.
People actually like it when you ask.
Right, rather than ignoring it, But it's hard. It's
even
hard.
worse, assuming. I think that's even. So I think between assuming and just ignoring the growth of educating yourself and most people, and this could be a variety of things. It's not only about recognizing someone else's proper pronouns that they prefer to be addressed. It's all sorts of things. I think people, if you ask, people are actually, you'll find that people will be enlightened by that. And
yes, I agree. 100%.
Teach along the way.
Yeah. And like, as far as when, you were mentioning stuff about being a woman wanting to have a baby, the questions that your doctor asks you, like things like that.
In parallel to my career, right?
Right, in parallel to your career. And like health issues and maybe the things that women will be looked at health-wise more than men, or I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but do you have anything to speak on about that, or your own personal stuff? Or
it's another thing to navigate.
Yeah.
So we have and I'm not trying to take anything away from men, self-identifying men, not at all. It's just we as women biologically have other things to also juggle in conjunction with something like that. So, I think it's never to ostracize other people, like especially this gathering of women. Like I said, it's actually very open. You were there. It's like we welcome space, but the energy is mostly focused on this community where they feel seen, feel recognized. A brand supports them, has their backing, and I think being a pioneer for that in this industry and having Beatsource and DJcity being the leader in that means more to me than anything, because I very much love the brands that we both work for, and seeing us innovate, be a leader in not just the tech space, but a leader in our communities.
Right.
That means a variety of things.
Yeah.
And so to be a pulse on that is what I really enjoy being a part of it.
And how did you, going back a little bit, how did you get your start? And for people that are listening, and girls, women, or anybody, any gender, but how did you get your start? How did you become a DJ? Know you wanted to become a DJ? What was the process, and who were some of your influences?
Oh my gosh. So I learned how to DJ much later in my career. I was a full-fledged adult. I wish I could say I had my first record at age of 5 and did this. No, I was very much already into my mid-20s, had graduated college.
Yeah. I mean, that's not that abnormal, I don't think. I mean, I didn't start till I was probably 18, have my own turntables or something.
I feel like I hear these when you hear these
right, I was 4 years old and playing with my uncle's
records. Prodigy children's stories. Definitely and actually
I didn't know till 17, 18. Okay, this is something I want to try out and mess with, and I'm 65 now, so
and not a day over 32. I had done the traditional route. I grew up in Southern California. You do your high school into college. I went to school here.
Yeah.
And you do the thing where you get a job, and who cares if you like it, so long as it has health benefits and as long as you have stable income. And I graduated college during the recession, that one recession we had, and you can figure out the year that was. I will not openly say that. You all can do some math, but it was then, and at the time I was there. I
DJ'd through it.
I'm pretty sure, right? And at the time,
DJs were the only thing that survived. It was like clubs went crazy during that time.
Yeah, you're right. Except the housing market,
but it was something about gambling and buying alcohol and partying. People went nuts.
How did I not discover this then? But at the time I was working, by then I had worked. Events are my background. I'm an event producer by trade, and even I did the college thing. I was in a sorority. I was director of social events. I know that's very hard to believe, right?
Like I never would have thought that.
That was the thing. Like I was always in school, the classroom like party planner.
Yeah.
So I had by then worked for a PR firm. I had worked for a nonprofit. I've worked like all sorts of industries, and I was really so in addition to the recession, I was just getting restless with my job. I was no longer inspired. So one day at work when I was pushing Excel sheets, I was like, I really hated my life then. This is going to kind of go dark for 2 seconds, but to the point where I was working this 9 to 5 that I hated.
Yeah.
And when it was Friday, I would literally, I was at the job for 2 years, but for the last 8 months of it, I would literally go to bed Friday night as early as possible and and just stay home in my bed till like Monday morning just to make the weekend last long. It was like horrible. Like someone is outgoing and like, just social. Like that was not a mental.
No, that doesn't sound good.
Space for me.
Right.
So I was like, I gotta like get out of this rut. This was like horrible. I was hating life. And I'm like, I've always liked music. I've always loved music, enjoyed it, but I'm not a musician by any form. Right. I really had an appreciation for other people's music.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to learn how to DJ. So sure enough, I was pushing Excel sheets one day and I'm like, get these files away from me. Let me just Google like learn how to DJ. Sure enough, DJ school popped up, Scratch DJ Academy, which I've, since have worked for and came out of there.
Yeah.
Was taught very, very well out of that.
Right.
And I learned how to DJ in less than a year, Spider, and started working like just side things, like nothing big and whatnot. Yeah. And worked for the organization for many, many years. And throughout my juncture in that, developed my own brand, started DJing for, things. And because I had that business acumen, I think that has always been a backbone of DJ Dazzler, always just knowing how to navigate the circuits in the way that I have.
Yeah.
And, done a couple tours and then also did, the cruise thing everybody does. And then even leading up to this point, like I just remember getting a call from Styles Davis, asking like, hey, what are you like up to these days? And I remember it was like not so hot. Like this is many years after the recession, but I'd just gone off the Royal Caribbean thing and I didn't have nowhere to go to. And his call, I don't think he knows this, which one day I should probably like thank him. And I have this like gratitude for Styles and I probably should show it more often because he called me during a time where I didn't know where my DJ career was going.
Yeah.
And it's not like he was hiring me to DJ. He was hitting me up to be part of this community for things that the company needed that were within my wheelhouse, my skill set, like like the organization stuff. So I remember, and now this is kind of switching gears of how I got involved with DJcity. They're like, okay, we're gonna bring you in for an interview, and I'm like, okay. And I got nervous. I'm like, Jesus, I didn't even I think most people don't. I think they treat DJcity and Beatsource like, oh, we do is like not party all the time. Or I'm like, no, we're actually a functioning business.
Right.
And maybe like then I kind of thought that way. They're like, oh, okay, an actual interview, shoot. So
yeah.
It's like, do I dress up or do I like go street? Like what's like they want me to interview.
Right.
So it kind of like met in the middle of that.
I was gonna say, I bet you dressed up.
I was in the middle.
You're wearing Valentino heels on the podcast. Nobody can see. We need the camera to pan down.
Oh, yes, there will be a picture after this. So I came in for the interview and it was Quickie and Styles. And Quickie made me pitch to him what I would do. And I was not expecting that. I was like, in my head, I was like, y'all told me to come here. Like, and like, I thought you were.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought you had an idea for me.
Reverse. Like
right.
He said, so what would you do? And the same things that I kind of talked to you earlier about this podcast. So my follow up with him was like kind of like, this is what I think. It sounds like what you need. And these are things to do. And like without skipping the beat, he's like, okay. And so I became a part of this family, which I'm so proud of. Like
so
I
cool.
think I really want to genuinely share how grateful I am a part of DJcity and Beatsource. Like I love this community so much. And if I haven't shown that, tell me, because it's like, it's something I all of us, together working on this, common thing that we love so much, and the brand and the people, that's what makes this company who it is.
Totally.
And since then, I've kind of just grown into a position that I feel like is really unique, and I couldn't be any more happier.
That's so cool. When was that? Like 5 years ago?
Yeah, ish. Yeah, something like that. And I just feel like I've grown each year, and as our trajectory is growing, and I'm being embedded in all these different projects, and I'm so
Beatsource
I wear the brand so proudly on my back. Like, I do not take it for granted at all. And so I'm really happy to be here. And even the fact that like I'm your guest on this podcast, like I would never thought, like, I don't think anybody cares what I have to say.
I think you've said a lot of great things. So that's so cool.
And
that's
the fact
great
that
to hear.
music is like, so working here and then obviously being a DJ, like being in this ecosystem day in, day out, whether I'm touching CDJ's turntables or not, being a pulse in it, I find that fulfilling.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
Yeah. That's great. No, you show it. I think you put your heart and soul into whatever is going on, whatever thing you're dealing with within the DJ culture and within the company and inside and outside, apart from just actually DJing. So yeah, that's great. That's so cool. I didn't know that story, so that's good to know.
I was 9 to 5er.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it's very like that. And I feel like my life, and I say this loosely, is 24/7 in this world, but I love it. I truly do.
Right.
Like I don't, and this is that life is not for everybody, that mindset, but I do like that my social worlds, my personal worlds, and my professional worlds, like they all relate together. And that's part of the reason why I don't like to use a term like work-life balance. It really is work-life harmony. Like, can these respective things in your life
that's a good
coexist with each other? That. And I feel like my life does. Yeah. And I look to you all beyond, like, of course, boundaries I respect, but I look to you all beyond just like my office coworker.
Right.
Like,
truthfully,
if you were in a pinch, I hope you would think you could hit me up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whatever that may be, hopefully I'm available. But like, really, I welcome myself in our community like that.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's amazing. Well, that's why you're good at what you do. And that's why you're on the show.
We'll let the critics decide.
Yeah, send in your votes. Do you
a text?
Well, speaking of critics and people on the internet,
do they have
we have got people.
Oh gosh, here we go.
That have questions,
seat.
tough
this is
questions,
the hot seat.
hardcore questions coming in.
Okay.
It's like press your luck, big money, no whammies. And let's see if we've got any new ones in real time that have come in while we're talking. Let's see. I'm on Instagram, guys. Have you ever heard of that app?
Yeah. Have you heard about it?
Let's see here. Okay, we've got some questions here. Okay. Oh, we've got some new ones.
New ones. Okay, here we go.
All right. So you didn't hear this one.
Yeah.
So let's see how you answer if we have to cut it out. All right. Johnson Missy 20. Okay. Johnson Missy 20. Thank you for writing in. This person, I don't know who they are, if they're a man or woman or non-binary or whatever they consider, but say, hi, I know you're dope. Okay, that's a good way to start.
Okay. Cool.
What do you recommend to get gigs across the USA? That's a very general question.
Yeah, okay.
So, Johnson Missy.
So, thank you, Johnson Missy.
Get a bus and just start going 50 states.
I'm wondering if you're writing in from abroad or you're
I don't know. While you talk, I'm looking at their...
And you're trying to like get gigs across. But I think the answer to that is connecting with people in those markets and being helpful in that realm. So I don't like, this is going to also answer other questions partly related to that. So I think, especially in the nightclub space, which you're very well versed in, I think the assumption is I want to get into that world. Let me see if I can just open up for Spider. And like really I'm just using an example. I would look at it as like, how can I be of service to Spider before he even trusts me? Like, open, like it's really like earning that specific market's trust. So that parts of that will include you researching, like, are you musically apt to even handle and maintain that type of opportunity? If it's events in corporate world, are you polished to do those types of things? Do you know the diction and syntax to use communicating with people in that world, the vernacular, you know? And then how is your, there's a lot of things that you could do before even touching, the turntables and whatnot, like connecting with people in those markets. whether it's a geographical thing or a certain type of gig thing.
Right.
So I would say building it from there.
Yeah.
Would be helpful.
Yeah.
I think sometimes
also getting known in your own. Some people like to jump steps and be like, "Yo, I want to be on a U.S. tour." It's
earn
like,
the trust
does
in your.
anybody know
you in your
where
backyard?
You live?
Yeah.
So try to work on that. If people know you where you live and you're the go-to person, or at least for one specific thing where you live, then you'll start to be known from out of town.
That's a playing
or,
card. That's a hey. Well, then you're gonna book me there. When you come here, I have something for you.
Exactly.
So
that's
you have
another
something
thing.
to offer.
Yeah.
So it can't be. I'll say this.
Two-way street.
This can't be a take game.
Yeah.
Like, even for me, before I even ask somebody for something, and this is even beyond DJ related.
Right.
How can I be of service to you, even in the most simple sense, And I think earning someone's trust is important more than ever.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, that's
Thanks
true.
for that question.
Yeah, great question. And I just looked up her page. Her name's Missy Johnson. I'm assuming she's a woman. She's got 0 followers and some pretty dope drawings. So guys, go follow her because she
thanks, Missy.
Got some cool artwork going on here. Missy, thanks for the question here. All right, let's move on to the next question coming up from Midnight_Mind80. Thank you for writing in Midnight Mind 80. How to market yourself to specific audiences?
That's a great question. I do feel we touched a little bit on that. However, I do want to expand the idea of don't skimp out on the research. Like immediately asking for the gig that you want is kind of a lazy approach to me. I mean, look what I did even for Disney Plus. Like the fact that
all those people are like, hire me, I'm here. Oh, it's like, yo, chill out. Like, have you ever gone out on a date with another person with that approach?
Where's the courtship?
It doesn't work.
They
you know
need
what I mean?
be. There needs to be a little bit of dance.
Date me. It's like driving by, like, hey, what up, yo? Yelling out the window. Like how many girls are you picking up by doing that?
Don't catcall for gigs, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what the internet. It's like people are catcalling for anything. Like the amount of crazy messages that I get where I'm like, did you not think to write hello or something before that? Like, what are you saying?
Like maybe addressing people very personally, and not making so and also the copy and paste inquiry. Like you got to connect with people on some level, like make a reference to something
spelling things wrong.
Oh my gosh, already that's that's the way to the exit door.
Yeah.
So I think doing your research on something that attracts you to that opportunity. Now, let's go back to core values. Also being self-aware if you know that opportunity is something you want to do, and B, that they can find value in you.
Yes. I think that's
because
good.
I also think you only have one shot to make that impression. So I'm not saying don't seek out gigs like cold call. Like, no, there's value in doing that. But I think since you only have that one shot, and if you're doing it in a way of you're a stranger and you're not being connected somehow, making sure all your points are polished. Like if you have a proposal, make sure that's updated and catered to them. And I talked about the branded email. The people take you a little bit more seriously. Think about if they don't even know you. So before they even respond, guaranteed they're going to look you up. So if those things aren't pristine, already you're shutting the door on yourself. Right. So even like you see people's IGs and whatnot, and like Instagram should be, curated in a sense what matches like the brand aesthetic you're going for, but also authentic to you. So it's not, they're not getting what they think they're getting. And and listen, with IG, with social media, it's so quick. You're just like scrolling, right? And you that person you're reaching out to has already made their mind up about you already in that instant.
Totally. Yes, you're right. That's true. All right, good advice. Let's move on. DJ Drew Music, what is your favorite corporate gig?
Oh, that's like asking me what my favorite song is. Gosh, that's like
I know. It's impossible.
Drew Music. Hi, DJ Drew Music. I see you often in the interwebs. So good to see you on here or hear from you here. They've all been so, especially the past 5 years, have been just mind-blowing, like so good. I mean, I'm going to reroute back to the Disney Plus thing because there's some things I want to share with that. I feel like, again, all the boxes were checked on how that resonated with me. It was a company whose brand values align with mine.
Mm-hmm.
They're inclusive. They, pop culture oriented. They have the similar personality as me.
Yeah.
There was a big financial reward after doing that opportunity, which is always a plus.
Yeah.
I got lifelong friends, I feel like, out of that. The travel opportunity was amazing. So as of recently, I would say Disney Plus. That was a really unique opportunity for me. And I think different events and different clients are going to have a variety of ways for you to connect with them. And I think what makes it a favorite or what makes it a good opportunity is if you feel good doing the work.
Yeah.
So doing it, not once did I feel resentful, because we get there sometimes, right? Like, God, why did I take this on or whatever? Like, or you know what I mean, for whatever reason, rate related or not.
Yeah.
And not having those feelings and just looking forward to where that connection can go to. I think, I have a lot of favorites, but that's what categorizes me as a good opportunity and a great event overall.
No, it sounds great.
Yeah.
All right, DJ Kaz, Killer Kaz, Miami, represent. He wants to know what your favorite 90s song is.
Oh my gosh.
That's
so
right.
Kaz, he asks that because Kaz and I have very similar music tastes.
Okay.
And like early 90s pop, early 2000s pop, like we are the experts on.
Yeah.
Okay, see, like you're asking someone their favorite song.
I know, it's impossible. Just pick a top. One that you play a lot, maybe.
God, besides every Backstreet Boys NSYNC song ever, I will. Okay, well, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna honor.
That leads to the next question.
I'm gonna honor the Spice Girls, because did you know, he knows this, but I flew out to Europe for their reunion tour 2 years ago.
Wow.
With 3 of my gay guy best friends. Like, I would have not wanted it any other way. Like, we had us
great,
like, had feather boas and like everything, like, and so I'm a huge Spice Girls fan, huge. So because Kaz is asking me this question, I'm gonna tell him Spice Girls, and my favorite Spice Girls song, this is a true story, is "Say You'll Be There." Their second single.
Good one.
Their second single is my favorite Spice Girls song.
Yes, that's a good one. That's a good song.
There's like a
cover. I have a cover song of that I play at events a lot.
Oh, is it by Mo? Is it Mo?
Yeah, Mo.
Yeah, that's a good one too. I do play that.
Because people always hear it and they're like, "Why do I know this?" And they're like, "Oh, it's Spice Girls."
Because
but it's different.
It sounds new.
Yeah, it sounds new and it's like funky and more backgroundy.
Dylan Francis? No, was it him who did that? It was Mo and someone else.
I don't think so. Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know.
It was Mo
though.
I do know that.
Definitely Mo.
Or Mo with a slash in it.
It's M with the weird O.
I can never find it. I literally have to type in "Say You'll Be There."
Me too.
Spicy. It's called Spicy, right?
I think it's called.
I
don't know. It depends how it's labeled. But I don't know.
I can never find it in
don't know
Serato.
how to create the weird O in my computer.
Right. Is that next question is somewhat related?
Yes. Hey, Aiko. Favorite NSYNC member?
So OG Dazzler, as in if you're talking about 12-year-old posters on the wall.
Okay.
JC Chazé.
Oh, yeah.
Schizophrenia album, his solo album. Oh yeah. Oh, you don't think I have all these? I do. Like, and some of you DJs look like you don't spin JC Chazé and it shows. Okay. In your sets.
Some of you DJs don't have a JC Chazé tattoo on your back.
And it shows. Yeah, JC Chazé was my guy back then. But even before that, like, I was a huge Hanson fan. Freakishly, a huge like "Where's the Love?"
Yeah,
like that song.
Mbop,
like but yes, to that question, I was a very big JC Chazé fan.
Okay.
Then he hooked up with Tara Reid, and I was like, no, I don't have a chance anymore.
Oh my God. I mean, well, now what? I mean, Tara Reid. She's still around, like at Hollywood.
Were you DJing the era of like Les Deux? Those days?
Oh, yeah.
Like
she was
the
there.
Hills, Laguna Beach.
I mean, I was at Les Deux one night. I mean, I'm sure she was always around. Everybody was there.
Yeah.
I remember being on that little stage and Britney Spears was there. And they were like, Britney Spears doesn't want to be around all the people. So can she be up on the stage with you? And I'm like, all right. So she's up on the stage. I don't know, like weird stuff's happening. And I look over and she's just puking into the ice bucket of like the bottle service thing. And I'm like, Britney Spears is on the damn stage throwing up into the ice bucket. Like, That was a weird experience. But yeah, a lot of crazy things happened at Ledoux.
Wasn't that like such a
we
moment
were
in
outside.
time?
Oh God, yeah. That was like the
I was-
mid,
I wasn't-
2007, I did Tuesday nights. It was like the spot to be. And I mean, those guys are still doing stuff. The owners, they have Warwick now.
Oh, right.
And
gosh, I forgot that.
Yeah, they're still
Okay,
doing
thriving.
the damn thing.
Good to hear.
But they just reopened, probably the only club in LA that I know of, like night bottle service club, that makes you show a vaccine at the door to get in, which is impressive.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, Ledoux was the spot, and
probably aged some of us.
Tara Reid was around a lot. All those people,
Juicy couture velour outfits.
Yep,
Gotta love it.
everywhere. All right, we got two more internet questions. We got Juju with the beats.
Oh,
What is one of your favorite things about DJing for corporate events? I feel like you've answered this, but if you've got anything else to add, if you want.
A big part of it is, although I enjoy DJing an array of events, nightlife, club, bar, lounge, corporate, weddings, all of it. I think in the corporate world, I genuinely like that. I've been using this term a lot, this courtship at the beginning, and developing this connection with them and being of service. And really what I think the win is, like, I'm being a part of their brand for that moment in time. Yeah. Like, I get to be a part of Adidas. Like, I get to be a part of them. I'm one with them. And do you know what's funny about that? I recently DJ'd a sporting event, which I have no business DJing because I know nothing about. And the client specifically said, we had listen, there's tons of soccer fans in our DJ community. And they blatantly said, we hired you out of we hit up DJs in radio. We hit like these affluent DJs in our community that we know very well. But we went with you because you just understood us. You clearly took the time.
Yeah.
I don't know how a soccer game works,
right.
Spider. I literally don't. But they trusted me, and they knew that I could take things to the finish line in various forms.
Yeah.
And be
That's
present
so cool.
and all of that. So really understanding like your clients and their needs, and like what I like about corporate events is you there's so much more room to expand after that event. I would say you could argue that for any opportunity. It's really up to you.
Yeah.
But I really like taking that. Listen, after the gig is done, it's not a dead end. It is up to us DJs to continue that on.
Yeah, true.
And I love that process. I think most people find it daunting, but I really do.
It's hard.
It is hard.
It's
not easy. It's not easy. But I really enjoy being like, for the day or for that campaign, I'm a part of this. Like, referencing Disney Plus, I was DJing with Mickey ears on, and I was Disney girl. Like, I love that. Like, I'm part of something, this movement. And that's why I think I'm drawn to things that are community oriented, and why I love our community. Like, I'm not looking at these opportunities as like it's always back to me. It's way beyond that.
Yeah.
Totally. And I think that's how you attract more stuff to come your way anyway.
Right. That's so interesting. No, those great points. All right. Final question. DJ Kevin Belisario. What's her favorite top 5 Disney movies?
Oh my gosh.
That's kind of hard.
What a bang to.
Yeah.
So, God, it's like asking what my favorite song is. I will say this. The Disney genre I lean toward are more of the classic.
Yes.
Like before Pixar. Although Pixar movies are amazing.
Yeah.
Like love me some Toy Story and all that. God, the top 5. I can give you my favorite Disney movie all time.
All right, let's do that.
Little Mermaid.
Okay, that's a good
Little
one.
Mermaid.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah, that is my favorite one. The music, the soundtrack is great. Yeah. Also, speaking of soundtrack, I think I really like the soundtracks of classic Disney movies as well. It's very nostalgic.
Yeah, totally.
And it's like, I feel like if you were to show your kid a Disney movie, an old, like Pinocchio or something, they would just be easily entertained with it too. It's just so timeless.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
I had Disney VHS, like, the plastic.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Video cassette things. So that's what it brings me back to. I will lean with old school Disney, like classic Disney, number 1 being Little Mermaid.
That's a good one. That's a classic that won't ever get old.
Never. Oh, never. But I'll say this. I'm not a fan of like 30 years later, there's like Little Mermaid 2. Like, I don't get that.
I know.
I don't understand that.
Well, they want to get the new generation, you know.
Yeah, I get it. But I'm not, I've never even seen those, mainly because I'm not like, that's interesting. Like,
right. I watch everything because I have a kid.
Of course. I'm a fan of like Toy Story 1, 2, 3, because they all sequentially like came out in a period of time. But I'm like 30 years later, 20 years later, there's Little Mermaid 2 or whatever that is.
I know. Is there a Little Mermaid 2?
I think there is. Or that, or it's going to be like a prequel to like Ariel's life beforehand, or like, I have no idea.
That could be kind of cool. I don't know. But yeah, that also the music was such a huge part of that, and it sticks with you forever.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
That's true. And we're DJs, so it's part of us.
I do play Under the Sea on my sets.
Nice.
And I go into like freaking reggae and like Afrobeat. It's like if I want to just switch it up, like if
go like a dance hall set.
If I'm also like a lineup and I just want to be interesting, like I will I love closing sets. I will play what do you call Circle of Life as my like closing, and it pops
from Lion King.
Yes, like people sing to
amazing.
it. Yeah.
Wow. I never thought of that.
I gotta check to see if that's on Beatsource. That's a good assignment for me.
True, Beatsource. We need an intro for that.
Yeah, for sure.
The acapella out
of Lion King.
Circle of Life. Amazing. Well, we've covered so many topics.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for everything, all your knowledge and just your attitude and who you are and everything.
So honored to be here.
You know, it was great having you. Is there anything that you think we missed that you want to touch on, or you have any other words of advice for the community out there listening?
I think if I can reiterate one thing of many things, but one thing is just to do things with integrity.
Yeah.
And the authenticity factor is so important. And I think for us coming out of this pandemic, finding next steps or finding out where we're steering our individual respective careers, it all comes from within. You know, so like how you find those answers are really identifying the things that are important to you. And that comes from your core values.
True.
So I would really recommend, doing a deep dive. And it's not easy. Like it's like taking yourself away from the lanes of the road and not doing the comparison of the cars next to you. And that's a hard thing, because I think for a long time and continually, we've individually made our success point the comparison like somebody else's juncture, which is like not true. Like I think we all have our own lanes and we can succeed in those ways. And it's not truly, it might not be money. It might not be the amount of gigs. It might not be like the types of clientele. You can be fulfilled in your own way without doing it whatever tried and true way that exists or the way somebody else has been doing it.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's great. That's so important. I feel like that was the running theme of this podcast and kind of how we started. And it was nice to bring it full circle. And
the circle of life.
The circle of life.
You got to cue in.
Exactly. That's the. If we didn't have copyright issues, I'd play that right now. Amazing. Well, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And where can everybody find you online, your website and your IG and all that stuff?
I'm super active in Instagram. That's my tried and true method. DJ_Dazzler. I am in the middle of a rebrand, so hopefully before this year, DJdazzler.com will be fully activated live. And so, and I'm approachable. Like you hit me up on whatever method of choice, I will respond. So I'm flexible that way.
Amazing. All right, everybody, go find her and take notes. Hopefully you took notes on this podcast and got a lot of that info. But yeah, Dazzler, thank you
Thanks
again.
Thanks so much, Spider.
And we'll be eating appetizers together soon, doing a gig, I'm sure.
For sure.
All right, we will see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Later. All right, that was it. Huge thank you to DJ Dazzler for coming on the show, and thank you to you guys for checking out the show week after week. I really appreciate it. We are on every platform, so if you want to watch us, head over to YouTube. You want to listen anywhere you listen to podcasts, we are available from Spotify to Apple to Google to Stitcher to SoundCloud, Mixcloud, all of it. You can catch us. If you guys have any questions, comments, and actually, I know I said earlier on the show that I wasn't going to say you guys. That was the topic of the show. So if y'all out there got any comments, or you want to hear anything, hear me talk about anything, any guests, hit me up on Instagram at DJ Spider, DJSPIDER. Huge thank you to the team that makes this happen, Vlats, Anthony, everybody that helps me to do this. This would not be happening without them. So shout out to them. And also shout out to Beatsource. This podcast is produced by Beatsource, the 20 podcast. And join us next week for more interviews as we discuss music that matters to DJs. I'm DJ Spider signing off. Peace.